It's been a couple of months since we got a new King Gizzard album, and I gotta say, we've been waiting way too long for a new one. So, yeah, let's dive into the new record from King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard, a sentence that I continuously spout over and over and over again. So, let's dive into it. I'm the hiller, blood killer, witch killer. I'm the hiller, god killer, pig killer. PetroDragonic Apocalypse, or Dawn of the Elemental Light and Annihilation of Planet Earth and the Beginning of the Merciless Damnation by King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard. This one goes down as being the longest titled album from them, and I thought Ice, Death, Planets, Lungs, Mushrooms, and Lava was a mouthful. Holy jeez. Holy jeez. Alright, so King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard. Really quick and dirty, if you haven't been initiated from them at this point, they're an Australian, I guess, psychedelic rock, garage rock, experimental rock outfit, getting their start just over 10 years ago, if you can believe. And they are so prolific that this is their 24th studio album, if you can believe it. So 24 albums in just over a decade. Most bands that have had, 4 decades are lucky to get 24 albums out. And these guys are just like bam, 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 bam. Starting off as the kind of typical psychedelic rock, garage rock band, but then slowly becoming into this cult of their own where, almost obsessively they're jumping genres from one style to another style to another style to another, going anywhere between progressive rock to pastel rock to thrash metal to hip hop, and sometimes even within the singular album. But yeah, coming off of the 5-6 album string from last year, we get the first record from them from 2023, about the halfway mark, and it is a spiritual successor to their 2019 album of Infest the Rat's Nest. This was kind of the second album of 2019, and it was their first thrash metal, or at least like metal album of their discography. And it tackled the whole concept of, environmental climate action that was kind of following off at the heels of Fishing for Fishes, but doing it in less of a, hey, we better smart up and change our ways so that we don't destroy the earth, to, well, we didn't do anything, now the earth is dead, so what are we going to do now? They tackled some class inequality and how all of the rich people just GTFO'd off of Earth, only to find out and crash land into hell. Yeah, it was great times. It was good times. And so this is more of like a spiritual successor of that, especially in terms of like the musical stylings. We're back to that thrashy metal. We're back to that like really intense, really fast-paced, really aggressive styles of their genre. And it also tackles the idea of a dying planet, specifically Earth. We see that right here of, the dawn of eternal night and annihilation of planet Earth and the beginning of the merciless damnation. How dragons and lizards are beginning to take over the Earth now that all the humans are dead, and, how do they survive in this polluted environment. And yeah, the music definitely follows suit with that kind of mythos and themes. But what I appreciate here is that they've incorporated a lot more of the jam styles that they were playing with a lot last year with their Omnium Gatherum and Ice, Death, Planets, Lungs, Mushrooms, and Lava album, where there's this more jammy aspect to it, a little bit more of a kind of a prog metal aspect of it, if I'm being perfectly honest, where each track really does flow and bleed into the next, creating a seamless runtime of about 48 minutes. And I really appreciate that. Now, I haven't listened to the LP version that has the bonus track on it. I've only been privy to the Spotify version, but my LP is on its way. It'll be coming very soon. What I really appreciate, as I mentioned, is that flow. The album opens up with Motor Spirit, and it really does solidify and capture kind of what we're in for. It's about like 8.5 minutes long, and it is a sludge in the best kind of way. And in terms of, you know, the music, we're getting that kind of same essence of, you know, what we usually have. You know, there's a lot of that woo things that the band loves to do. I really got to tip my hat to Michael Kavanagh on drums. His drumming work on this is just stellar. Like, there are a number of moments, especially on that first track, that I'm like, whoa, this guy is doing stuff that, like, prog metal drummers are like trying to emulate but just can't quite reach. And here's this guy that's used to playing just kind of psychedelic rock doing a lot of that styles, and I'm just like, geez, that's amazing. On with that, all the guitars on here are just stellar. You know, there's lots of shredding moments on here. There's a lot of, you know, just that 1,000 miles a minute that I really, really do love, and I really do appreciate that. You know, I feel like King Giz doesn't do a lot of, but when they do it, man, they do it right. So I'm really, and that's all within the first track, and it bleeds right into Supercell, which, man, this one also hits off like with a pretty heavy bang. Like, this is the typical thrashy metal that I think we all kind of come to love. It's you know, balls to the wall. It's extremely aggressive. I'm loving that they're flirting a little bit with what they were doing with the KGLW double album with the microtones, at least just kind of playing with that a little bit. It's kind of catchy and infectious as well, especially when they're like, Supercell, Supercell. And man, when we get to that third track of Coverage, there's a moment on here that's reminding me of Pneuma from the latest Tool album of Fear Inoculum, where it has that like it's the same kind of tones on the guitar. It's got that same kind of inflection. And even though, you know, we're about 3 tracks in, we're not quite to the halfway mark yet. There's such a power within it. And, you know, normally I would have started to kind of lose a little bit of interest. I feel like we would have been, you know, kind of circling around the same ground. I don't feel that. And it does bleed into one of my favorite tracks of Witchcraft on this album that just, I friggin' love. Like, this is the kind of experimental rock that I really love from King Giz. It's reminding me of Nonagon Infinity and Polygon Wonderland, where there's this like overlay of, you know, different things going on all at the same time that I really do enjoy. You know, it's almost as if the choruses are coming in and they're all playing their little part to really build a fuller picture. And one of the best tracks that I've heard from King Giz in quite a while, which we then go into the 2 big singles from this album, Gila Monster being the first one. And I still love it. It's trippy, it's psychedelic, it's just an acid rock styles that I still friggin' love. And we come into Dragon, which is really this prog metal work that really does kind of go all over the map. I love how not only do they root themselves and play around the root as they're going through this track, but they're not afraid to branch out and try different things within this track as well. And then they finally end this all off with Flamethrower that just has this intensive ending to it that oh boy, Flamethrower is such a great track. Like, I love how it's using the momentum that we had from Dragon and starts the song off with this massive kick, and about near the halfway mark or so, it really does die down into this massive climb and massive build for such a brilliant crescendo and play out by the end. They end on such a high note on this album, and I just can't help but love it. Honestly, I have to really start looking to find any kind of flaws within this album. Even if this isn't necessarily my favorite style of their music, they're starting to convert me within this particular genre. You know, I'm not a big fan of the thrashy metal or the speed metal, but what they're putting down on here, I can definitely really enjoy. I'm finding myself enjoying this a lot more than Infast the Rat's Nest. I'm finding that I'm enjoying this a lot more than some of their previous works. I still don't think that it's kind of on that same pantheon of albums like Nonagon Infinity, like Polygon Wonderland, like Paper Mache Dream Balloon, that are still my 3 big favorite records from them. But I will say this is easily on the top tier of their like quality albums, you know? Yeah, I had a great time with this one. I highly recommend it if you're a metal fan, for sure. You know, there's this thing in my head. It's like, did King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard drop the best thrash metal album in the same year that, you know, Metallica released a new album? So yeah, in the end, I will say PetroDragonic Apocalypse, or the Dawn of Eternal Light and Annihilation of Planet Earth and the Beginning of the Merciless Damnation by King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard, is one that I absolutely love with my whole heart. As I mentioned, I have to actively look for things that I don't like about this album, and it's hard. I'm still astounded by, this is their 24th album in after just over a decade worth of music, and they're still putting out top quality, like top shelf songs and tracks. Like, man, that's incredible. That alone is just incredible. But that's all I've got. What did you guys think of PetroDragonic Apocalypse? That's where I'm going to cut it off for this time. By King Giz. Did you love it? Did you hate it? Whatever you thought, please let me know by commenting down below. I honestly think this is a great album to get your feet wet within the King Giz verse. If you haven't listened to them yet and you're more on the metal side of things, I think this is a great start. If you're not as big of a fan of like that thrashy metal or that like kind of sludge metal or whatnot, maybe try their last album of Changes that came out last year. Like, I think those two records will really give a full picture of what King Giz is all about. So that's where I'm going to leave it today. That's where I'm going to leave it. Thank you all so much for watching. As always, you guys are definitely the best. And until next time, notes out.